بسم الله. Oh, yeah, it's okay. ما شاء الله.
Big enough for you.
Yes, it's big. Thank you.
So small surah.
Yes. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون. كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون. ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا. إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا. إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا. إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا. إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا. رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا. يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا. ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا. إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: وعليك السلام. قال: يا فاطمة إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فآتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه. يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي، ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا ولدي، ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أماه، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جده، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله. أتأذن لي أن أدخل معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي، ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: عليك السلام يا أخي، ويا وصي، ويا خليفتي، ويا صاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي معهما تحت الكساء صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت: السلام عليك يا أبتاه، يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال: اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم، وسلم لمن سالمهم، وعدو لمن عاداهم، ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا رب، ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال جبرائيل: يا رب، أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى: نعم، قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام، ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنهم نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال لأبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال علي عليه السلام لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذن والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذن والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Brothers and sisters, brothers, before we proceed, can I ask you kindly کہ تھوڑا سا آگے آ جائیے, please, if you can just come a little bit forward تاکہ ایک مجلس کا ماحول ہو جائے. And as you come up, صلوات علی محمد وآل محمد. Thank you so much. بار دیگر نعرے صلوات. بر حبیب خدا ختم الانبیاء امام زمانہ بلند تر صلوات. اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you know, tonight we commemorate the Shahadat of our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our ibadah tonight. We will start off with the Urdu Soul Salam Marsiya, followed by the Majlis by our very own Maulana Sayyid Rizwan Rizvi. اسی کے ساتھ ایک صلوات پڑھیے علی محمد و آل محمد. نہ پوچھ کیسے کوئی شاہ ہے مشرقین بنا نہ پوچھ کیسے کوئی شاہ ہے مشرقین بنا بشر کا ناز نبوت کا نور عین بنا بشر کا ناز نبوت کا نور عین بنا، علی کا خون لعاب رسول شیر بطول، علی کا خون لعاب رسول شیر بطور، ملے ہیں جب یہ عناصر تو پھر حسین بنا۔ نہ پوچھ کیسے کوئی شب محمد وال محمد صلوات۔ رنج دنیا سے کبھی چشم اپنی نام رکھتے نہیں، رنج دنیا سے کبھی چشم اپنی نام رکھتے نہیں، اور جز غم آل ابا ہم اور غم رکھتے نہیں، جز غم آل ابا ہم اور غم رکھتے نہیں، رنج دنیا سے کبھی چشم اپنی نام رکھتے نہیں، اور کربلا پہنچے زیارت کی ہمیں پرواہ ہے کیا، کربلا پہنچے زیارت کی ہمیں پرواہ ہے کیا، اب ارم بھی ہاتھ آئے تو قدم رکھتے نہیں، رنج دنیا سے کبھی چشم اپنی نام رکھتے نہیں، وہ در پیشاہوں کے نہیں جاتے فقیر اللہ کے، در پیشاہوں کے نہیں جاتے فقیر اللہ کے، اور سر جہاں رکھتے ہیں سب وہاں یہ قدم رکھتے نہیں، رنج دنیا سے کبھی چشم اپنی نام رکھتے نہیں، اور کہتے تھے آدا کے بچے بھی علی کے شیر ہیں، کہتے تھے آدا کے بچے بھی علی کے شیر ہیں، اور جب بڑھاتے ہیں تو پھر پیچھے قدم رکھتے نہیں، رنج دنیا سے کبھی چشم اپنی نام رکھتے نہیں، اور کہتے تھے سجاد کھینچ سکتی نہ تھی جب بیڑیاں، کہتے تھے سجاد کھینچ سکتی نہ تھی جب بیڑیاں، اور کیا کروں اس بوجھ کی طاقت قدم رکھتے نہیں، رنج دنیا سے کبھی چشم اپنی نام رکھتے، اور چادریں جب چھینی رانڈوں کی تو عابد نے کہا، چادریں جب چھینی رانڈوں کی تو عابد نے کہا، اور کچھ حیا و شرم یہ اہل ستم رکھتے نہیں، اور مرثیہ ایک دن میں کیا سب کہہ کے اٹھو گے انیس، ہاتھ سے کیوں آج کل کے تاسو کلام رکھتے نہیں، رنج دنیا سے کبھی سورہ فاتحہ۔ ایک اور صلوات پڑھی، اللہ محمد و آل محمد۔ عابد کے لال فام کی رحلت کا روز ہے، عابد کے لال فام کی رحلت کا روز ہے، یہ پانچویں امام کی رحلت کا روز، اور سلطان خاص و عام کی رحلت کا روز ہے، معصوم نیک نام کی رحلت کا روز، معصوم نیک نام کی رحلت کا روز، اور رونے کی آ رہی ہے صدا آسمان، لوٹ گئے محمد باقر جہان، لوٹ گئے محمد باقر جہان، اور سر پیٹو اہل بزم قضا کی امام، کیا دکھ اٹھائے سرور گردوں امام، اور بھیجا سلام جن پہ رسول انعام، ہو پیش آ زہر وغا اس کے نام، ہو پیش آ زہر وغا اس کے سامنے، اور کیا انقلاب گردش لہل و نہار ہے، سجاد کے جگر کا کلیجہ فگار ہے، سجاد کے جگر کا کلیجہ فگار ہے، سجاد کے جگر کا کلیجہ فگار ہے، اور کب تاب ہے کہ اس سے مذاہب کروں رقم، مولا کی زندگی بھی ہے ایک داستان غم، طفلی میں کربلا کے مسائے وہ دم بدم تھا، 5واں برس کے ستم پر ہوئے ستم تھا، 5واں برس کے ستم پر ہوئے ستم، اور ایک ریسمان ظلم میں ننھی کلائی تھی، بابا کے ساتھ قید کی ایذا اٹھائی تھی، بابا کے ساتھ قید کی ایذا اٹھائی تھی، اور افسوس رن جو غم سے نہ مہلت ملی ذرا، سر سے پدر کا سایہ رحمت بھی جب اٹھا، اور فریاد لب پہ کبھی تھی کبھی بکا، اتنی مصیبتوں میں بھی کب چین مل سکا، اتنی مصیبتوں پہ بھی کب چین مل سکا، اور ظالم ڈرا نہ خالق اکبر کے قہر سے، بے جاں کیا محمد باقر کو زہر سے، بے جاں کیا محمد باقر کو زہر سے، عابد کے لال فام کی بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔ بارے دیگر نعرے صلوات۔ And with that, I invite Maulana Sayyid Rizwan Rizvi to address tonight's majlis. Please welcome him with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. بارے دیگر نعرے صلوات۔ بر حبیب خدا ختم الانبیاء امام زمانہ بلند تر صلوات۔
رحم اللہ من قرأ سورة الفاتحة۔ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، الحمد للہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم ایاک نعبد ونستعین الصراط المستقیم صراط غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین۔ Please recite another Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of tonight's sponsors. The sponsors are the family of Mr. Mustafa Karim, Mr. and Mrs. Mustafa Karim. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for their marhumin as well as yours. Surah Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات بھیجیں محمد والے. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Condolences to all of you, mu'mineen and mu'minat, our maraji, and especially Imam of our time, Imam Mahdi, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Allahumma salli ala. On this sad occasion upon which we commemorate the Shahadat and the demise of our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad ibn Ali and al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala. Tonight, being the day of the Shahadat of Imam, 7th of Dhul Hijjah, tomorrow, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, is the day when our third Imam, Imam Hussein, converted his Hajj into Umrah Mufrada, and Imam left the city of Makkatul Mukarramah in order to protect the sanctity of the city from the bloodshed that was inevitable, and Imam traveled towards Kufa, and eventually the destination was Karbala. Following that day, 9th of Dhul Hijjah, marks the Shahadat of Safir Husseini, Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil. Inshallah, we will have the majlis to commemorate his Shahadat as well. From that moment on, from then till 10th of Dhul Hijjah until 25th of Dhul Hijjah, you have only the wiladat and the jashan and the occasions of joy and happiness. These 10-15 days from the day of Eid al-Adha, the day of Yawm al-Nahr, the day of Qurbani, for which we talked about earlier today in Salatul Jum'ah and the Khutbah of Jum'ah. Following that, you have various ayad, plural of Eid. You celebrate the wiladat of 10th Imam. You will also celebrate the event which marks the appointment of Amir al-Mu'mineen as the successor and the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the wasi of Rasulullah, the day of Ghadir, which will take place on 18th of Dhul Hijjah. Then you celebrate on the 24th of this month, Mubahala, which was the apparent victory of Muslimin over the Christians of Najran. This is also the month in between these 10 to 15 days when the Fadak was given to Janab Sayyidah. Within this period was also the time when the Surah Hal Ata ala al-insani hinun min ad-dahr lam yakun shay'an mathkura, Surah Dahr, was revealed for the Sha'an of Ahlul Bayt. Within these 15 days, you also find the event in which Amir al-Mu'mineen gave zakat in the state of ruku, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the verse that those who give zakat, وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ, was also revealed. So you see, the events that take place from 10th of Dhul Hijjah until the 25th of Dhul Hijjah, there are a great deal of events that is very difficult to pay homage and to pay tribute and to be able to live up to all of these events. But marks overall an occasion or occasions of joy and happiness in the lives of Ahlul Bayt. But of course, tonight that we gather to commemorate this Shahadat of this Imam of ours, who is unique in a sense that from his father's side he's Hassani, and from his mother's side, from his father's side he's Husseini, and from his mother's side he's Hassani. He's the grandson of Imam Hussein from paternal side, son of our fourth Imam, who's son of Imam Hussein, and he's also grandson of Imam Hassan because his mother is daughter of Imam Hassan. So the only Imam from this aspect who has both Silsila Sadat in his lineage, Hassani and Husseini. Only few of us who are from the lineage of Rasulullah, we go through one Imam, and of course eventually to Rasulullah the silsila reaches, but Imam Baqir is the one whose silsila is continuing from both Imams. Before I get into some discussions that I have about this Imam, and so we can increase our ilm and increase our ma'rifat of this Imam, right? This is what's needed. We've heard a great deal, but still we're lacking as far as the ma'rifat of Imam is concerned. I want to relate to you one story pertaining to Imam. And this is a story which relates to an old man who walked into the bargah of Imam. And as Imam was sitting, this elderly man, and this hadith is narrated by Hakam ibn Utayba, and in Al-Kafi, Marhum Kulani narrates this, that this man who was fairly old and was nearing his death, if you want to call it, comes to Imam and says to Imam that, "Oh Imam, I want to mention to you some of my attributes, some of my features, some of my khususiyat," meaning the things that I do, things that I believe in, things that I perform, and I want to know if this is in line with what you preach and what you want us to do. This is indeed a great thing. A lot of time people continue to do things without having proper knowledge, and it's always a good habit to go ahead and confirm with someone who has knowledge that if I'm doing this correct. A lot of time, and nothing related to that aspect, but today in our societies we find issues related to ahkam fiqh. A lot of time we continue doing things the way we had learned, and we think that it is correct because this is how we were taught by our forefathers, and therefore it may be okay. But we find out that no, this was not the case, and what we've been doing all this our life had been wrong, and we've been doing it incorrectly. Now when someone corrects them, first and foremost they start doubting that person's judgment as to how could this be? I've always done it like this. I've always considered this to be this way. For example, once I remember that I had mentioned the fatwa regarding nail polish, that if a lady puts on nail polish in her hands, on her, then of course wudu cannot be done, because nail polish causes a barrier, becomes a barrier for the water to reach the hand, and the nails have to be washed for you to do wudu. But when it comes to the masa of the feet, if one of the toes is empty without the nail polish, not that I'm promoting something like this, but I'm giving fatwa because people have asked question. Even if one toe is without nail polish, the masa can be done. Why? Because you're washing the hands and you're doing the masa of the feet. There's a difference between the two. If you were washing the feet as well, then of course it would require, there shouldn't be any nail polish or any barrier on your feet. But the fact that you're only doing the masa's length and the breadth is, 1 finger long, 3 to be mustahab, and the length of it is also 1 finger. If that could be achieved just by using and rubbing your hand over one toe, then that is enough. That is sufficient, and the wudu is intact. But that is not the case when it comes to washing of the hand. Nail polish should be removed completely before hand. I said this masala. Some people said, "Oh, how is this? Is this something new that we had never known about?" And I've been listening to majalis for the past so many years. We've never heard something like this. I said, I did not bring it out of my own piece and my bag of knowledge. This is the fatwa of the Maraji. And it makes sense too. Why? One part of the body is being washed, so therefore there shouldn't be any barrier. The other part of the body is being rubbed upon, so that it could be a barrier on the other parts of it. For example, you could have a barrier on your belly, on your, biceps, behind your back, and the wudu would still be fine as long as that thing is not najis, and you can go ahead and perform your salat. So a lot of time we learn something and we find out later on when we think that all these years we've been doing was wrong, and it's very difficult for people to digest. No, it's always a good habit to refer back to the masail fiqhi that are mubtala bih, meaning things that are done on regular basis, as opposed to things that you may never come into contact, or until you need to do it. For example, ayyam hajj, when you have to perform hajj, when you're ready to go to hajj, only then you can learn the masail pertaining to hajj. But right now, you're not going to hajj, so you don't need to have malaka and tasallut on the ahkam of hajj. Many a time, even the maraj who are giving these fatwa, when someone asks them a question on the spot, they would open up the book and they refer. This is your book, you wrote it, how come you're referring to it? They don't want to tell you and give you the idea that I'm mustahzar with all the masail fiqhi. That is the difference between Imam Ma'soom and Ghayr Ma'soom. Imam Ma'soom has all the knowledge given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at once present in front of them, that they don't have to ponder over it, they don't have to think about it before answering. Remember the story? A man came and asked Amir al-Mu'mineen a question and he responded right away. He said, "Oh Imam, how come you didn't have to think about it?" Imam said, "Extend your hand." He did. Imam said, "How many fingers do you hold?" He said, "5." Imam said, "How come you didn't think about it?" He says, "Right in front of me. I didn't even have to look and think about it." Imam said, "Just like you don't have to think about how many fingers you hold, we have all this knowledge given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." So that is the difference between the ilm of ma'soom and the ilm of ghayr ma'soom. With that said, this elderly came to Imam and he said, "Imam, I have these 3 features. I want to run it by you and you think that, is it correct?" Imam said, "Bismillah, what is it?" He says, "Fawallahi, inni la uhibbukum wa uhibbu man yuhibbukum." By God, I love and I have compassion and love and affection to you, and I have love and compassion and affection towards those who love you. Meaning, "Oh Imam, I'm affectionate towards you, and I'm affectionate towards your followers." And then he said, "Wallahi, ma uhibbukum wa uhibbu man yuhibbukum litama'i fi dunya." This love is not for the greed of this world. And then said the next thing, that "Wallahi inni la abghidhu aduwakum wa abra'u minhum." That by indeed I have grudge against your enemies and the enemies of your followers. And then he said, "Wallahi ma abghidhuhu wa abra'u minhu liwatrin kana bayni wa baynahu." But no, this grudge is not my personal grudge, that I have some sort of enmity and animosity towards this man, and that is the reason I hate this person. I hate or I have this grudge because he hates you and he has grudge against you. And then he says, continuing, "Wallahi inni," that's number 1. What is number 1? I love those who love you. I love you and I love those who love you. And I hate those who hate you and pose threat to your followers as well. That's number 1. Number 2, he said, "Inni la uhillu halalakum wa uharrimu haramakum." That indeed I consider halal what you consider halal, and I consider haram what you consider haram. That's number 2. And number 3, he said, "Wa antadhiru amrakum." And I wait, or farajakum, for example. You know, ta'jil faraj of Imam of our time, that we make this dua of faraj for Imam. This was the same story with other Aimma as well. The people living in the times of the other Aimma who were present, they were waiting for ta'jil faraj, waiting for their hukumat to be established. That Imam is the one who's commander-in-chief. Imam is the one who's the leader of the Ummah al-Alan, and not Banu Umayyah and Banu Abbas. So they say, "I wait the day until your hukumat is established." So they say, "I do these 3 things. What are these 3 things? I love you and I love your followers. I hate your enemies and the enemies of your followers. And number 3, I wait for the day that your hukumat is established." Imam ﷺ said to this man, "Come closer." He came closer. Imam said, "No, even closer than that." He came very close to Imam. Imam took his hand and rubbed this on his chest like this. And Imam said to him that indeed what you have said, if you do all of these things, then you will be next to us in paradise. Not only that you will go to paradise, Not only that you will attain some maqam in Jannat, you will be next to Muhammadu Ali Muhammad in Jannat. There's a difference between the two. You and I hopefully expect that maybe inshallah we'll get to some part of Jannat inshallah. But being with Aimma Athar, meaning being at Hawd Kawthar, next to Aimma Athar. Imam rubbed on his belly or on his chest and he said the same thing. The man liked this, prophecy so much, he said, Imam, can you do that again? Imam rubbed his hand again and he repeated these remarks. This man was excited and he left. And the moment he left, Imam turned to his companion. He said, Man ahabba an yandura ila rajulin min ahlil jannate falyandur ila hadha. If anyone wants to see a man from the Ahlul Jannat, the people of the paradise, then look no further than this man who just walked away. This man is the epitome. This man is the picture of what would be seen in paradise. So the message that we can derive from this is the love and the tawalla, the tabarra, for the sake of Aimma Athar, for the sake of Allah, of course, but for those who love Ma'asumeen and for those who have grudge against Ma'asumeen, and of course keeping the halal that Aimma Athar has mentioned to be halal, and keeping the haram what Aimma Athar have mentioned to be haram, and waiting Tajil Faraj of Imam of our time, Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. You do these three things. Now you say, well, it's very easy, isn't it? We do at least the third one. We make the dua for the Tajil Faraj of Imam. But what about the first two? A lot of times, muhabbat of Ahlul Bayt and the bughz for the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, this is where the litmus test is. Sometimes when our own interests get in the way. That if my interest is getting in the way, do I still follow the command and the lead of Ahlul Bayt al-Islam or not? So here Imam gave this news to this man and he said this. So based on this story, I want to mention three aspects of Imam's life. First aspect of Imam's life is his connection with his Rabb. Our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second aspect of Imam's life is his connection with people. And of course, our connection with makhluk as well. And the third aspect of Imam's life is his interaction with his enemies. And similarly, our interaction with those who pose threat and the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. These three, how Imam dealt with them, how Imam coped with them, and how should we follow the lead of Imam. But if we look at it, the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should not be limited to the connection of ibadat. But let's just focus on the ibadi aspect. That how else do we have a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that we are punctual when it comes to our ibadat. We're punctual when it comes to our salat and saum. We're punctual, we are on the spot when it comes to giving dain or giving khums and zakat in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these adai farz and all of these other wajibat, all these things are one means of having a strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here we look at that, we have lots of people who have very good connection with Allah, but they don't exercise their civil duties. He said, well, what does that have to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When you remind these people about Palestine, they'll say, well, keep me out of Palestine. Keep me out of Gaza. Keep me out of Yemen. Keep me out of Afghanistan. Keep me out of Syria. Keep me out of all of these places. Yeah, when you want to talk about Quran, you want to talk about Hadith, you want to talk about Salat, you want to talk about Saum, you want me to give lectures on Hajj and whatnot, yeah, I'm there for you. Their connection with Allah, the thing is the only connection is through the ibadat. But when it comes to raising voice against the atrocities that are being done, they say, well, keep me out of it. And I'll give you an example of this sort. Some people, they will go to the extent and say, well, I have nothing to say about this. I want to stay out of it. There are many neutrals in the history of Islam. On the contrary, you find many people who are well into politics. they're politicians. But then rarely do you find that they're also along with, because what is your connection with the people? What is your connection with the enemy? Connection with the enemy revolves around siyasat and politics. They might be very good politicians, but then they have nothing to do with the deen. He said, well, don't bring deen into me. You want me to run the politics? Then salat and saum is for you, not for me. No, you should not be running away if you excel in one area, that the other area starts to suffer. And there were many such people in the life of Ma'asumin. You hear about this man by the name Khwaja Rabi, who's buried in Mashhad. People even go for the ziyarat, very beautiful, mausoleum that has been made for him over the times. And even Imam Rada, when he entered Mashhad in the year 200, he went for the ziyarat of Khwaja Rabi, for example. Khwaja Rabi is someone who died in the year 61 to 63, in between that time, probably 63. Who was he? Well, he was a zahid and ascetic and alim, and at the level of akhlaq that people used to refer to him as far as his ethical values were concerned. But when he was told about the shahadat of Sayyid al-Shuhada, he said, sad that Imam was killed, but did not condemn Banu Umayyah. Sad that Imam was martyred. It should not have happened. But did not speak a word against those who were the culprits of this. This man might be very good when it comes to akhlaq, when it comes to ibadah, when it comes to the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but where is he lacking? He's lacking when it comes to the siyasi aspect of it. The complete picture where we should all be progressing and going forward in all dimensions, not lacking behind in one area or another. Another individual like this is Abdullah ibn Umar. Who is this Abdullah ibn Umar? Of course, he's the son of the second Khalifa. He prayed every place Rasulullah prayed. Ahl Sunnah revere him a great deal. He's got so many ahadith narrated directly and then, of course, indirectly from Rasulullah. He's a Sahabi, Abdullah ibn Umar. He's the son of the second Khalifa. And all these other aspects of his life. But history tells us that he was a very, very, weak individual, in a sense that he was timid to go to the war and the battlefield. He was someone who was muhaddis, narrating ahadith, prayed at every place where Rasulullah prayed. And majority of the ahadith are narrated through him. But where is he lacking? When it comes to battlefield. You don't see any bravery. You don't find any stories of him carrying a sword and going out like this. On the contrary, you find another person by the name Khalid ibn Walid, who is very brave, shuja, right? Saifullah is the title that is given to him, to the extent. The same guy who was the reason why Battle of Uhud was lost by Muslimin, because he was on the other side. But then after that, he converted to Islam after Fateh Makkah, and so quickly, you know how people sometimes they are given a raise and they go through the ranks so quickly. He went through the ranks so quickly that he was given the title of Saifullah. He was shuja, no doubt. He was a brave man. But he was bedeen, ladeen. Why? Just look at this story. In the time of first Khalifa, when he sends him to go ahead and collect zakat, this action that he performs with the man he was collecting the zakat to. Not only that he killed that man, but he performed an amal which I can't even mention from the mimbar. That displays la diniyat. You're shuja, you're brave, but there's no deen in you. So here we understand that you got many of these such examples. Now these examples are there, but we got to reflect on ourselves. That if I am very good when it comes to ibadat, what about when it comes to condemning? Of course, in this day and age, nobody's asking you to bear arms. But even showing and saying a word against the atrocities, that speaks volumes, and that shows your bravery. You're standing up for that which is right, and you're standing against it. And that takes courage. You see, even if you are put in shackles like our fourth Imam was, but having the courage to speak in the court of Yazid. That requires courage. So therefore, when it comes to Aimma Athar, while you see that Aimma Athar probably had nothing to do with battlefield aside from Amirul Mu'mineen, aside from Imam Hussein, no, that is not the case. If other Imams had the opportunity, in fact, this very Imam of ours, fifth Imam, Hisham summons Imam to Damascus. Imam goes to Damascus. Imam was very old at that time. You know, he was 4 years old in the battlefield of Karbala. His Shahadat is in the year 114. Wiladat in the year 57. Shahadat in the year 114. Imam is 57 years old. So he's very old at that time. Old from that standard of that time. And now, Hisham summons him. Imam goes and Hisham asks Imam to take this bow and arrow and do archery. Imam says to Hisham, I'm an old man. What was the purpose behind it? He wanted to humiliate Imam. That Imam, of course, is not known for his archery skills. Imam would shoot an arrow here and there and people will laugh, and this way I will be able to humiliate Imam. Nor have we really seen any skills from Imam's archery in any battlefield, because Imam didn't go to any battle. If it was Imam Hussein, you would say, yes, he's good in his, warrior skills. But if it was Amirul Mu'mineen, nobody could be compared with. Hisham wants to humiliate fifth Imam. Imam says to him, I'm an old man, leave me out of this. Why do you want me to do this? He said, no, I can't take a no for an answer. He insisted. Imam comes up, takes the bow and arrow in his hand, locks into the target, hits the bullseye. To the amazement of all those who were present, thinking this old man would not be able to strike. Imam takes another arrow and pierces the first arrow in half, right at the same place. This adds further to the amazement of the people who were all present there, thinking that Hisham has done well to humiliate this Imam. Then Imam turned to Hisham and said, all these skills, all of these things are given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We didn't have to learn any of these things in this world. You think that I would go to a madrasa and learn ilm? Similarly, you think I would attend a military academy to go ahead and learn and have these military skills? No. These are the things that are wada'i from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. It's just that people like you fail to understand the maqam of imamat. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad par. So what is the rabita of Imam and the connection of Imam with his Rabb? Well, let's speak about the ibadat of Imam. Imam ﷺ is someone that his son, our sixth Imam, says that I would be walking with my father, he would be doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I would be sitting down and eating with him, and Imam would be continuously doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said he would not let us sleep after Salatul Fajr and keep us awake until Tulul Fajr or Tulul Shams. And he would make us do the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If any one of us could recite Quran, he would let us read the Quran, but he would not let us fall asleep in between the time from Salatul Fajr until Tulu'e Aftar. So Maulana, here we have difficult time getting up for Salatul Fajr. You want us to stay up after Salatul Fajr as well? So with that said, Imam ﷺ entered into Kaaba one day. Sixth Imam narrates this. He said, I entered into Kaaba with my father and Imam's servant by the name Aflah. He said, as soon as I entered and first time Imam laid his eyes on the Kaaba, right? How you're mentioned when you go for the ziyarat, the scholars usually tell you to keep your eyes low. Lower your gaze until the first time you lay your eyes onto Kaaba. It's a sight. And keep this dua in your mind before you look at the Kaaba for the first time. And then make that dua, and that dua will not be rejected. They're all told that. Imam lays his eyes onto Kaaba, and Imam starts to scream and weep out loud. Afla said, shh, Imam, people are watching. Why are you weeping so loud? I wish you keep it down. You're Imam. Imam responded by saying, oh Afla, I don't care what people are watching. My Rabb is watching, and he approves this action of mine. Tazarro wazari, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said Imam went into sajda. When he got up from sajda, the floor was all wet because of the tears that had come out from the eyes. This is the Imam, this is the ibadat of our fifth Imam, Imam Masjid-e-Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. But Imam did not limit ibadat only to praying and fasting and all this stuff. Imam was working like an ordinary man would work to put food on the table. In the middle of the day, in the heat of the day, Imam is working in a farm. Person by the name Muhammad ibn Munqadr walks and sees Imam and uses this opportunity to taunt. He said, Ya Muhammad ibn Ali, if it was some Qurayshi leader or tribe, I would have been surprised. But you, out of all the people in the world who is known for his zuhud and his taqwa and his wara and whatnot, that so much love for the world has gotten into you that you're standing in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the day, in the heat, and you are doing this kishawarzi and this farming. Imam turned to him and said, by God, if in this condition I die while doing this, this will be considered to be shahadat in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because I'm doing something to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to earn rizq halal, so that I don't have to beg from people to go ahead and feed my family. And in the process of earning halal, if I die in the middle of this heat, then of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers this to be the best of the ibadat. So don't limit ibadat only to namaz and roza and salat and saum and only this. Ibadat extends out to every action that is done in order to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if your life is taken in the middle of that action, then you are given the status of shaheed. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now when we speak of shaheed, we look at, you hear the ahadith such as the first drop of blood from the shaheed is something which wipes away all of his misdeeds. A man came to Imam and he asked, Imam, is there tawbah for me? If I was to go ahead and perform tawbah, will there be tawbah for me? Imam said, yes. But I'll tell you what I have done. I'll tell you the mistakes that I have made. Imam said, what have you done? He said, I worked for Banu Umayyah all my life, taking bribes from people, taking bribes and extorting people and all that stuff. Imam said, no, your tawbah will not be accepted. Imam was very open about it. He did not mislead this man by saying, oh, you'll be fine. He said, no, your tawbah will not be accepted. He said, how come? He said, there's two things. One is haqqullah, the other is haqqun nas. Allah will forgive you only when people forgive you. You hear this all the time. Make sure you fulfill haqqun nas. Go after, seek repentance from all of those people whose hukuk you have usurped. If do that, then do tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept your tawbah. There's a Ayatollah in Qum right now. His name is Ayatollah Muhammad Baqir Kharrazi. Not to confuse with our Dr. Kharrazi. He's Ayatollah in Qum and leads Salat in Qum. He has a book that he has written in Farsi, which has a lot of stories, true stories. Book is called Rozane-Haye, something of that sort. I've written the name Rozane-Haye az Alam-e-Ghaib. The stories from Alam-e-Ghaib. He said an alim one day, after a person had been martyred in the battlefield, or in the battle between Iran and Iraq Jang, and he said he saw this shaheed who was struggling. He said, what happened to you? He said, my file is stuck and I can't go further. He said, why? You're a shaheed. And the riwayah says, first drop of blood of shaheed, all of the sins are forgiven. He said, no, when I had some role in Isfahan back in my day, there was this lady that I dismissed her from her position, and she didn't deserve to be dismissed. And she felt humiliated, and I think that is the reason my file is still stuck and I can't go further. Why am I telling you this story? Because there are huququllah that Allah will forgive, even for shuhada. But huququn nas, even for shuhada, are pending. He said this alim went to Isfahan, found the brother of the shaheed, asked about the story, nobody knew about it, found that lady who was mad at him, went up to this lady begging and asking for forgiveness. As soon as they mentioned to this lady the name of this man, she started sending la'nat upon him. He said, no, he's shaheed now. Forgive him. We'll give you all that you have missed all this life. He said, no, I was dismissed and I was humiliated and I will never forgive this man. So even shuhada, they are stuck if haqqun nas is not given away. So make sure that huququllah are taken care of and huququn nas are taken care of. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I've run out of my time. Inshallah, I'll carry on with the remaining discussion another time. The two other aspects of Imam's life remain. Imam is someone who, while he lived for 57 years, Imam witnessed with his own eyes the atrocities of Karbala. He was 4 years old when he saw all the calamities befall in front of him. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was poisoned by Hisham, Imam's body was brought. His body was brought to Baqir and was buried next to his father. Imam was given multiple kafan, not just once, many times Imam was given kafan. All the tashi and janaza took place. Imam was buried and nobody desecrated the body of Imam. Nobody trampled the body of Imam. Nobody even took care, even break the stones and anything else up until Ali Saud did to Imam. I would say, oh Maulana, while you lived a life where you served the humanity, but at the end you were treated like this, you were poisoned and you attained the shahadat, but you were buried next to your father. Come to Karbala, you have witnessed with your own eyes the events that took place. You were 4-year-old when you saw that your own father Zainul Abidin wanted to bury the body of his father Imam Hussein, but wherever he would lift the body of Hussein, the limbs would be coming off, and when he would wanted to put him into the grave, it was very difficult for him to balance the body of Hussein because Hussein's body had been trampled under the summa of these horses. Ya Hussein,
यसरब में है जनाजा, यसरब में है जनाजा, बाकर का आज उठा, 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 बादल यतीमी का है, बादल यतीमी का है, जाफर के सर पे छाया, यसरब में है जनाजा, बाकर का आज उठा, यसरब में है जनाजा, बाकर का आज उठा, लेकर चले हैं जख्म दिल में लिए बहा कर, लेकर चले हैं जख्म दिल में लिए बहा कर, देखा है कमसनी में, دیکھا ہے کم سنی میں منظر جو کربلا کا، یثرب میں ہے جنازہ باقر کا آج اٹھا، یثرب میں ہے جنازہ باقر کا آج اٹھا، کرتے تھے یاد رو کر اصغر کی ماں کو باقر، کرتے تھے یاد رو کر اصغر کی ماں کو باقر، کربل کے بعد پایا پانی نہ کوئی سایہ، یثرب میں ہے جنازہ باقر کا آج اٹھا، ایک پل نہ چین پایا باقر نے زندگی میں، ایک پل نہ چین پایا باقر نے زندگی میں، 40 سال بابا کو خون روتے دیکھا، یثرب میں ہے جنازہ باقر کا آج اٹھا، یثرب میں ہے جنازہ باقر کا آج اٹھا، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین 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 حسین، اللہم صلی علی محمد زیارت کر
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا وأولاده المعصومين حجج الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، حي على خير العمل، حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله، لا إله إلا الله. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآل محمد.
صل على محمد.